Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for another edition of the Free Exchange of Ideas with Donovan and John. We are here to help you out. Now, let's just get to it. Hey, thanks for coming back. What did you say? Are you stepping on me? Thanks for coming back. We really appreciate it. We are going to do the third, fourth, and fifth clause of the 14th Amendment today.
Again.
And to be perfectly honest, I just finished the editing for the first and second clause because we did get off on a couple of little tangents. I just tried to narrow those down a little bit more than anything else because they were good tangents, I thought. I just trying to narrow them a little bit and get rid of some of the really extraneous weird stuff that we do. So today, like I said, we're going to do the third, fourth, and fifth clause. So Donovan, if you want to go ahead and read those three clauses, and then we'll just kind of jump into it.
You want me to do them all together, or want me to do them as we get to them?
Let's just do them all together, and then we'll kind of reiterate if we think we need to.
Okay. All right. So Section 3, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who, having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Excuse me.
Bless you.
I wasn't expecting that. Woo! Sorry about
that. All right, so that's the third one. So those are basically disqualifications for office due to, in essence, rebellion. Can you read like the second half of that again, just real quick? Not the second half,
but
where they talk about having already held office or made oath to support, something like that.
Yeah, hold on one second.
I'm sorry, because I don't have that in front of me, or I would have read it as well. And
it's definitely a lot of legalese.
Right. Well, because I'm a little confused. So maybe because you're reading it, maybe you can hear or see what I'm thinking. Is that it sounds like somebody who has already held office or made that oath to the Constitution or to the state's Constitution and then has been convicted of rebellion in one way or another to the United States can no longer hold any other office.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so that's the specifics of it, because it sounds like, because what I was thinking before is that the people who had entered Congress on January 6th are still being held under insurrection rules or under insurrection laws and being or have been what do you call it? Charged, thank you, is the word I was looking for. Mm-hmm. Charged with insurrection or rebellion under those laws. So I thought that would mean they could not hold office. They couldn't go to, after this is all over, come out and run for office. And that may not, huh?
That's if they're guilty of insurrection. When I was reading it earlier, ironically, I was off on a tangent studying this stuff about January 6th. So a lot of the people so far, none of them have been convicted of insurrection.
None of them have even seen a good day in court.
They've been, so maybe they got held on insurrection because you gotta get them, right? So, right. But most of them have not been charged or pled or they got them for other things like trespassing, obstructing
the government process.
Government proceedings and stuff like that. Right. So it's stealing some of that stuff too, things like that. So
didn't somebody get illegally? Nancy's laptop?
One of the ones I read was illegally parading. I was kind of like, okay.
I don't even know what that is. I mean, everybody's wearing clothes, right? Because I would think that would be illegally parading.
So, that's, and I have the article because I was going to bring that up too as part of this section. But it was interesting. Yeah. So none of them had been, at least all the people that have been through court and already sentenced, none of them have been
charged with
have been under
insurrection.
insurrection. But now, and I don't have anything on this pulled up, but it was in the news just like a month or two ago. I think it was in January.
Did they say how
Uh,
many had already pled and been released?
no, not yet. So, but it did say this, and this article was just in January.
Okay.
So, and it was from Time Magazine. I'll make sure I'll send it to you. But it was so, but yeah, it was basically here's the people, and it basically went through the ones that got like the most like time in prison. One being like I think 50 months, and the least was like
5-0?
one.
That's
Yeah,
4 years and 2 months.
yeah, something like that. So,
What
and
was he charged with? Is that the guy that stole Nancy's laptop?
no, but he was on that list. And apparently he didn't. I don't know. He didn't say laptop. He stole a piece of mail. So,
Oh,
which
that's a
is a
federal
federal.
offense. You're screwed, man.
That's
You
a
can't.
federal.
You do
That's a
not.
federal
You do not
offense.
mess with the mail service.
He stole. So I think he said he stole a piece of mail, and yeah, so he got 41
Yeah,
months in
that's not
prison.
good.
And yeah, they had a picture of him. Where's he? Here he is, Richard Barnett. He's awaiting sentencing. Okay, maybe I was wrong with this.
Oh, okay.
Another guy. So that was the guy Nancy Pelosi's this, but someone got booked or charged with stealing mail. But it's here in the article. You can read the articles, and it goes
Yeah,
through each of
absolutely.
them.
Yeah, send that to me. Send me the link for that because
Yeah,
I'll
so
read it as well. I haven't read
yeah.
that.
So yeah, the number one guy with the most time. Oh, here's it. So you'll like that. 725 people have been arrested for storming
725.
the U.S. Yep. So 725 insurrectionists were been arrested.
I'm sorry. I'm
Prince,
sorry. 725 what?
John's teammates.
So how about just 725 citizens?
So they've been arrested for storming the Capitol.
Storm the
Only
castle,
around
bitch!
1/10
Where's my
only 1/10 of
pitchfork?
those arrested, 71 individuals have received criminal sentences. So while
71.
the rest were awaiting trial. So yeah.
And
So
they're being held in jail
we're totally going to.
someplace.
So Robert Scott Palmer, he got 63 months in prison. So
Wow.
he was hurling
That's
wooden
5 years, 3
boards
months.
and a fire extinguisher at police officers guarding the Lower West Terrace tunnel of the Capitol.
I'd like to see that video because I don't recall
More than
seeing it.
5 years in federal prison.
Yeah, 5 years, 3 months. Tell your ex you're busy.
Nope, it's my buddy.
Anyway, all right. So can they still run if they've been charged and convicted?
They can't. If they've been charged, well, they're not. They haven't been charged. None of these are insurrection. So
Okay.
So yeah. So only if you've been like convicted of insurrection.
Okay. Text him back and say you're in the show.
So yeah, you have to be convicted of insurrection for that to not hold office. Is at least my understanding of how this amendment was written. So only if you're convicted of insurrection.
Okay.
And then if you're convicted of insurrection, the Congress can overturn that by what
Probably three-quarters.
Two-thirds vote. Was it three-quarters or two-thirds vote? We'll go back and look. I'll look at the number in a minute. But
Right.
yes, but they can overturn that by a vote, and then you can hold office. But I'm not sure how often that's been utilized.
It's never been overturned.
Yeah. So I don't know.
I did
I don't know
read
anything
that.
about that. So but yeah, so that is my understanding. So none of these people have been charged or convicted, or they haven't been convicted of insurrection. So they could eventually run for office once they're out of prison.
Okay, because I thought for sure I know they keep calling them insurrectionists, but if they're not going to charge them with insurrection, then it's a different matter altogether, I think. And I think that they're really stretching the investigation, the congressional investigation, because honestly, there's so much video that several companies could put this together in a string, and you could just watch it straight through and think, okay, that guy, that's definitely insurrection. That guy is, definitely threatening a police officer. That girl has definitely been shot by a police officer. Blah 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 blah. Right. So I just think because it seems like this is two different investigations, or because the people that are in jail or have been already arraigned and convicted of whatever they've agreed to, they're they're done. The people that are still in jail are not being charged with insurrection, as I understand. That's what you're saying.
It seems like I think they were like maybe pulled in, like, insurrection, we're gonna grab you, and then
Right.
okay, let's figure out what we're gonna charge you with.
Okay.
But we have pictures of you entering the building and doing this and doing that. So you definitely are, you're guilty of something. We
Yeah.
got you
Well,
on camera.
see, and
Or
that's
on your
where
own posts.
right. Well, see, and that's where I kind of get confused because I watched that and then rewatched it when they replayed it and saw the Capitol Police pulling barricades back and opening doors and waving people in, and I was like, okay, something else is going on. I mean, I thought
Yeah,
they're being waved in for some kind of. I thought there'd be somebody in the rotunda to speak to them, Nancy
yeah. I,
Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or somebody like that. But even that wasn't there. And then of course these people get in there and they don't know what they're doing. They've uh, they've entered a building they know they're not. They shouldn't be in. One,
yeah.
and two, they've entered under kind of awkward circumstances, and so they just get a little crowd nuts. You know,
I don't know. I don't know if they were necessarily awkward about it. I think they were all there for a particular reason. So
well, I now see, and that's where I disagree. I think there were specific people that were there for with nefarious intentions. However, as a crowd, no, I think most of those people were just going in there going, I, expecting to go up to the gallery and watch. But as you get in there and you get into that crowd mentality, your lizard brain takes over and you just kind of you're along for the ride. I think that's what happened to a lot of people.
Lizard brain is not a defense in court, though. I don't think so.
It's not.
But
I'm
I
just
think
saying. I'm just. But psychologically, it's an understood thing. Mob
yeah.
mentality is a
So
psychological thing. It's
my thing about the officers now. I'm not in law enforcement, but I have done security at large events and stuff like that. And I think part of that might have been
you're five
just
two.
talking.
Who would give you a
It's
security
like it's
badge?
like so it's like these people are like banging us like about to run us over. We can let them run us over, or you know go on in. So, and as part of no, I wasn't there. I wasn't on the front lines. I don't know. And they definitely were ill prepared. There wasn't enough of them, right?
Oh no,
Um,
absolutely not. And they had warned that they
uh,
would need more people, and Nancy Pelosi and whoever else is in charge of making that decision uh, said, "No, I don't think we will," or just didn't bother to do it.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Nancy Pelosi's.
It was her call.
That was her call.
Yeah, I remember reading
I
that
don't know. That
someplace.
I'd have to research. That I don't know. I mean, she's not a police chief.
No, but the Congress holds the purse strings for them, and I think one of her things was she just didn't want to spend the money because she didn't think she needed to. I don't know why she thought that, but and you know what? Right now we're way off on a tangent because we
Yes, we
I mean
are. But we
it's
are
not
talking
it's
about
not a bad
Section
tangent
3
because this is I mean
of the
I
14th
brought this up
Amendment.
and I brought it forward and this is I think we needed to make this discussion because it's an important point, especially if most of them, if not all of them, eventually will not be charged or will not be arraigned under insurrection laws.
Insurrection.
Right. So we should probably just go ahead and move forward because really there's no other history of this. It was written specifically uh,
Southern states.
so the southern states couldn't run president or senators or whatever that have been involved in the insurrection. Debt is the fourth section of the 14th Amendment. You want to read that one real quick?
Okay. Oh, I was just on it. Hold on a
I'm
second.
sorry.
I was going back. I was going back to the third.
Edit.
Section 4.
Good.
Okay. The validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave. But all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void.
Right, and that's super important because it was the 14th Amendment was built specifically to protect the United States from a debt incurred by the South. in order buying weapons, buying food, supplies, whatnot, making contracts with suppliers. Uh, the suppliers could go after the South, but the South couldn't go to the United States government and say, this is all our debt now, not just our debt. And the 14th Amendment says, nope, it's yours, and you're going to have to carry that debt on your own. You figure it out. You sell more cotton, sell more tobacco, whatever you need to do, but we are not going to cover your debt.
Yeah,
So, and
I got right here is
that's really the bottom line on that.
yeah, I got right here at the webpage I'm on, constitutionallawreporter.com. It says the Travis translation of the Constitution of this section here. Any money the United States owes for paying pensions or pays for help in stopping a revolt shall not be questioned. Neither the United States nor any state can pay any money for help in rebelling against the United States, and no state or the United States will pay for a lost or freed slave. In fact, all such bills, obligations, and claims are not legal. So is the Travis translation. It says right here.
Right.
Travis.
So yeah, in Branch v. Hawes, Virginia, in 1883, a federal court decided that the contracts involving Confederate debt would not be enforced, although contracts that involved Confederate currency are enforceable to prevent injustice to those who were required to accept them during the Civil War. The issue of the repudiation of the United States debt came up again in the Gold Clause case, 1935. Doesn't say where this one was. In those cases, the Gold Clause cases, multiple cases. In those cases, the Supreme Court held that the Congress exceeded its authority by refusing to pay bonds in gold, but that the debt holders could not recover because the damage was only nominal. Did I lose you, or are you freezing on me intentionally? Nope, looks like we lost him. All right, so I'm going to let him know via text he is checked out and needs to check back in or something. Yeah, there, he probably knows already. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries, man.
We got a few extra kids visiting. My neighbors next door right here. There's like 3 other kids here, and I'm sure they're all on the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
All right.
No worries. So yeah, we're just down to the fifth clause now.
Okay.
Because all I did was I just finished out reading that.
Fourth clause, fourth section.
Yeah. Yeah. I just because the damage was nominal. That was all I said. So right. Yeah. So we're into the fifth clause, section 5 now.
Yeah, and ironically, before we start, I'm gonna say this. Sure. I pulled up. I got the Constitution. .congress.gov Constitution annotated. Yeah. It's funny because it's the one sentence, but they got like there's like a whole page and a half of stuff on here on the very last section.
On scope,
talking about civil rights cases,
right?
Cruikshank, United States versus the enforcement clause. Yeah.
And then there's further reading. There's a lot in there though. There's
United States versus Morrison,
right? Katzenberg v. Morgan. City of Bern v. Flores. We talked about that a little bit. And then in this one, there's Florida State University Law and Stanford Law Review articles, Yale Law Journal. There's a whole bunch of cases to look at. I'm not going to pull them up, but I'm going to put this link in there because it has everything in it. So I'm going to put it in both. Like I said, I just finished editing.
You just froze up for a second there.
Oh, did I? Okay, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're back. It was just like for a quick second. I was like,
oh, okay. So yeah.
Okay, let's get a move on. Let's get a move on and ready to start.
Hold on a second. Yeah, you want to just go ahead and start? You want to read the clause?
Yep.
Okay, hold on. There you go. Good.
Okay, and we're back. 14th Amendment, Section 5. As I was just conversing with John before we started up again, I was saying how in my research I pulled this up on one page here. It's the Section 5 is only one sentence, but there's a lot on this one sentence section of the 14th Amendment. That Section 5 reads like this: the Congress the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation provisions of this article, meaning the 14th Amendment. So,
And that's
and there we
important that
go.
they say appropriate measures, because I don't, and I think, like I said, I think originally when the congressmen and senators who wrote this clause or wrote this amendment really intended to be broad, and for the first 70 plus years, it was really viewed very narrowly, and it wasn't applied outside of itself until like the late 30s, early 40s, I want to say.
Yeah, it was like it's only federal law and only federal employees, and
Right.
it was stuff like that, right? It was kind of interesting. So that
Yeah, and so
doesn't apply to the rest of the people.
right, but I think this clause really tells everybody it should be widely used. And again, like we said before, it covers the first five amendments completely. Every time there's something done in the first or the second or the third or the fifth, this is it always pulled in to clarify or expand the view. So
Yeah.
the enforcement clause, which is the fifth clause, Section 5 of the 14th Amendment is also known as the enforcement clause. This clause grants Congress, I'm going to turn this a little bit this way so I'm looking kind of at the camera. Section 5 of the 14th Amendment, this clause grants Congress the power to pass laws that make sections 1 through 4 of the 14th Amendment effective. In other words, to strengthen this amendment, not weaken it. Scope, one of the limitations on the enforcement clause is that Congress is only permitted to enforce the provisions through appropriate legislation. In Katzenbach, v. Morgan, 1966, the Supreme Court's holding suggested that Congress could define the substantive scope of the 14th Amendment. However, the Supreme Court rejected this suggestion in City of Bern v. Flores, 1997. So I think that's another thing that we have to remember as citizens. Our Supreme Court moves and flows with the presidents who get to set up and suggest new court magistrates or Supreme Court justices. Sorry, magistrates, not the proper word here. At any rate, so, and we also, and the other thing we have to remember is they are human. They don't always get things right. They rarely get things very wrong, but there are cases where they have. Now, I think that's important to consider because, again, like this, Katzenberg and Morgan, 1966, the Supreme Court held la. But in City of Bern v. Flores, which is 1997, they held the other way. So it's a complete change of court as well. From 66 to 97, I don't think there's anybody that was on the 66 court that is left on the court in 97. So, again, like I said, we're all human. They're human. We have to keep that in mind when we see decisions made that we don't agree with, or that we do agree with. It's human. The court will change. These things may change with the court.
Yeah, and it's interesting here. I was reading this section here on constitution.congress.gov, and explaining Section 5. It says, I'm going to read it if that's okay.
Sure, absolutely.
And basically, kind of wording it, but this is their interpretation of it. So, in enforcing by appropriate legislation, the 14th Amendment guarantees against state denials. Congress has the discretion to adopt remedial measures, such as authorizing persons being denied their civil rights in state courts to remove their cases to federal courts, and to provide criminal and civil liability for the state officials and agents or persons associated with them who violated protected rights. These statutory measures, designed to eliminate discrimination under color of law, present no problems of constitutional foundation, although there may well be other problems of application. But the Reconstruction Congresses did not stop the statutory implementation of rights guaranteed against state infringement, moving as well against private interference. And then it goes into a whole section of the Civil Rights Act of 1875, right, which basically kind of upheld Jim Crow laws. So then we had that whole thing going on. That was a state thing and a private citizen thing and not a federal thing. It's kind of, I guess, is kind of how they translated that, until that was changed later on in the 1960s, 20th century. last century. um, good times, right, John?
Absolutely.
um, but it's yeah. So it was interesting. Like even me, I'm gonna go off on a tangent here, John. So when I moved
There's a
to North
surprise.
Carolina, it's 1974. I, you know, 1970, end of 73, 74. It had been 10 years since Congress passed Civil Rights Act in 1964.
Right.
But there was still apparently, and I have no recollection of this. I don't remember seeing anything of this, and it might have already been taken down by that point. But there were still, I guess, signs and whatnot for white and black bathrooms and water fountains and stuff like that here to 1974. And from what I read is that the Supreme Court was like coming down hard and saying if you don't take these down, we're gonna act. And apparently, so that's when everything kind of 10 years later was finally done, taken care of.
At least as far
So
as
it was
signage was
interesting.
concerned.
Yeah, so it took 10 years, right? It's so wild to think about that.
Yeah.
But I know, like, I know basically anytime I have any kind of judicial, how shall I say, relations, it's they demand their stuff pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't like waiting.
I don't get to take my time with it. Going, well, let's do it when I feel like it.
Can I pay that? Can I pay
So
that ticket in 10 years?
can I just yeah. So it's it's interesting to see the states, and I don't know what states were which, or even if that happened in North Carolina necessarily. Um,
It wouldn't
but it was
surprise me
interesting, being
because that was still a
um,
southern state, right?
yeah, North Carolina, southern state. So, and me, I'm a personal story here. I remember being first day of school, first grade. Am I still on?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says my connection is unstable. So, first day of school, first grade, first recess we had, and literally all the kids in the classroom literally cornered me, blacks and white kids. I was the only one that wasn't black or white, and they were like, "What are you? Are you black or white?" And I'm kind of like, "I'm kind of tan." And I distinctly remember that, and I'm still friends with I made from first grade, from elementary school out there. So it was interesting. It was interesting and that wasn't necessarily discrimination. I won't say that was discrimination. That was just kids being kids. And here I
Right.
am, out. Oh my God, who are you? As one of my best friends told me a few years back. He said, he's like, you were the first Chinese person I ever met, and I'm like, I'm gonna hurt you the next time I see you.
By the way, if you bother to comment, he's
He's totally just
Filipino.
pulling. So he's totally pulling my leg. Right? I'm like,
I'll tell you, because I grew up in California. I mean, I was born in Los Angeles County, and I grew up in Los Angeles and Orange County areas. And I just, I don't know if California was so much farther forward thinking than, but we didn't, also, most of us in California didn't come out of that um, thought process. We didn't come out of the South. We didn't even really come out of the North. Most of us came out of the Midwest. And so the Midwest thought process is, if you get your hands dirty, you do your job and you keep your mouth shut, nobody cares what color you are. You just get your job done. You take care of your family, you take care of your relatives, you take care of your job. That's what you do as a man. Uh, and that's the way I was raised. I mean, I get it. I'm 60, but um, still, I think
happy
we
birthday, John.
thank you, related as it may be. Um, uh, I just don't think we dealt with it the same way because almost everybody that came to California was a traveler. They were leaving something and trying to get to a better place for them to do better. And I think that's why California didn't have that quite the uh, not mixing that they had in the South and in the, I guess, really in the
But you
South
still
down
got to
from
remember,
Missouri
you still
back.
got to remember 20 years earlier, they rounded up all the Japanese. So that was
Yeah,
20 years before all that. So,
right. And
yeah,
and
20 odd years.
he's
So
not Japanese. listen, yeah, I actually
Part Japanese. So
I listened to a podcast from uh shoot, I just had his name Sulu from Star
Takei,
Trek.
George
George Takei,
Takei.
right? George Takei.
I love it. I love
He
that
talked.
guy.
He talked about his time in a internment camp, concentration camp, and I had no idea when I heard him speak. I had no idea that that had occurred. That wasn't taught to me in school. We didn't discuss what had happened with uh, Japanese citizens of the United States. Um, I didn't even learn about that until college. So when I first heard him speak about it, it was still kind of an abstract picture in my head. Uh, and to hear him speak about his parents, the people that he was with, and how much they lost, and what it took to one stay in the United States, not return to Japan or go to a different country altogether. That was I believe he said that was part of his dad's thought. We have these two options: we can stay and rebuild, or we can leave and build again someplace else.
Yeah.
Uh,
And all their land was taken. A lot. When they
yeah,
were released, they
absolutely.
lost everything.
Land,
They
shops,
lost
businesses,
everything.
everything.
And it took until the 90s until there was like, but they all got like $10,000. The survivors or families of
I don't have
survivors.
any idea.
It was
It,
something like that. Even
yeah.
my dad could have qualified for that, but he ended up for whatever reason not applying for it because he's my
Well, I don't know.
dad.
But your dad is 78, something like that.
He's 78. He's 78 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, my grandfather, he was 72 when he died, but uh, people of that age or that come out of that period of time tend to, I mean, for me, my experience with folks of that age tend to be very self-sustaining, no matter some of the crap that they all went through. Very self-sustaining, very into just I'm going to do this. I'll take care of it on my own. I don't need your help. You're just going to piss me off. Um,
Yeah.
at least that's the way my grandfather saw. Both of my grandfathers saw it. My dad's dad ran actually ran the company store when they were in West Virginia for a coal company, and then when they came here to California, he started as a pardon me, vegetable and fruit guy at a thrifty mart. Eventually, got to the position where he was running the store. So, but did that. I mean, white as I am, it still did it on his own. There was people in his way that he had to either wait for them to retire or be fired before he could move up. Right. Um, my my mother's father was mostly a hunter. I don't know what he actually did for a living, to be honest, outside of like hunting, because he did go every season, and every season we had we had venison for Thanksgiving, we had venison for Christmas. Sometimes we had it out of season. I don't know anything about that. Um, but yeah, people of that, I think people of that era coming out of the 30s and the 40s were very self-sufficient. They had to be, I think, and it just became a way of life. My mother-in-law, her entire family came out of the coal mines in Ohio and West Virginia, and they still had uh, a root cellar where they kept uh, jarred, what do they call it, canning and stuff like that. My wife's grandmother did that.
Pickling.
Right, pickling, all that stuff. My mother-in-law still, she doesn't pickle or anything like that anymore, but she'll make giant batches of food and then serve it all week long. Or she used to. We don't do that so much anymore because it doesn't last because there's only the three of us. But yeah, I remember eating spaghetti on day 4 and 5. It's
I had spaghetti this for lunch today and that dinner last night.
well,
So.
I use spaghetti as an example, but yeah, and it's just the way they were raised, and I think uh, I was not raised that way. My father didn't. I mean, if he made a meatloaf, oh my God, if he made a meatloaf, it lasted 2 days tops. because we would just, I'd make sandwiches, I'd make dinner, I'd make lunch, the whole thing. Um, but yeah, my dad came out of that uh, really late 40s, early 50s, kind of, and Korea. He was in Germany during Korea on the Polish border, where
Your
people were
dad?
being, yeah, my dad.
Wow.
Um,
How old was your dad?
he died when he was 72. He was born in 34, so that'd make him
Oh, wow.
almost 80,
Yeah.
almost 90
Oh, oh,
now.
yeah. That was my dad was born in 42. I think it was. So
Ah,
he's 78.
so was my mom.
He's gonna be 79. He's gonna be 79. So yeah. So I was just looking it up. That's the silent generation, 1925 to 1945.
Yeah,
So it sounds like your mom and my dad are like on the cusp, but my mom's technically a baby boomer, but not by much. So,
right. Yeah.
uh,
So
yeah. So
I think people that came out of really they came out of frustration and lack of learned how to hoard. My mother-in-law still talks about onion sandwiches, and I'm like,
yeah.
what was an onion sandwich? She goes, it's two slices of bread and a slice of onion, and or
Mhm.
eating a turnip on her way to school, and that's what they had. I mean,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and so when you're like that, you kind of, I think, and you look at that generation or the previous generations, uh, uh, the boomers not so much, but yeah, you're looking at the silent generation and the greatest generation. You look,
Yeah, absolutely.
they didn't have the things like we have. Like, they didn't have the freezers and the refrigeration. They didn't have all
Right.
that, right? So that's why that we have to pickle things, we have to dry things, we have to, this is how we're gonna eat during the winter, right? When we can't go out and do anything, you can't. Kids can't drive to the store, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. So there isn't
you
a
know,
7-Eleven down the corner or
yeah,
Little
yeah,
Kenny's Market.
So I'm gonna add one more thing, one more tangent. One of the things
Sure,
that's
sure.
interesting, talking about this previous generations and food and how they hoard stuff and things like that, because you don't know when you're gonna eat it, right? I better save this. But one of the things I found interesting, and this was the temperance movement in the United States, came out of this. But when you think back in the day, people didn't have drinking water, right? Water was not safe to drink, so everyone drank alcohol. They drank beer and they drank wine, right? So the people who wrote the Constitution of the United States were probably a little bit pickled themselves. They're long days and nights. But interesting. They don't talk about that. Yeah, but you couldn't drink water, right? You couldn't just get water. The water wasn't around, right? So you're better off drinking the wine and the beer, because drinking the water could kill you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Or at least make you very sick.
Yeah. Well,
So
especially standing water.
so once water started becoming more available, yeah. So I always found that to be interesting. The things they don't teach you in school about that, because
Right.
we just think, oh, water. It's like, oh, they just drank water at
Yeah.
the
She comes out of the
Philadelphia.
faucet.
so so yeah. So
Exactly.
until like last century, most people were probably pretty good, feeling pretty good when they were making their decisions, probably. So
Yeah.
but yeah.
Anyway,
Enough of that. So,
right.
but I
So for
think that's
further,
it.
I'm sorry. I just want to get this really quickly. Further
Okay.
reading, according to this article from uh, Cornell Law, they recommend Florida State University Law Review article. These are links in
I
this
lost you.
text. The Stanford Law Review article and Yale Law Journal note. So there's a bunch of WEX articles that are specific to this case. I mean, specific to this amendment. So you might want to look at those as well, because we're not going to look them up. I think we did a pretty good job of covering what is, in essence, the 14th Amendment and how it applies to the first five and to uh, civil rights and others. Are you out again? Oh, dang it. All right. Oh, there you are. And Zay, kick those kids off, man.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No
Yeah,
worries. I think,
it's funny. I was doing it this morning when we first woke up, and then it was kind of good earlier. So I actually was even going to tell you, I've been having issues today, but it seems to be fine now. Oh well.
right.
So
That's
sorry about
okay.
that,
I mean,
John.
I don't mind editing that, because it kind of explains a little bit of why we are not in the same room,
Yeah.
and helps to keep us on track, I think, as well.
So, all
All
right.
right, so
Yeah, that was good tonight. I thought it was good tonight.
yeah, I enjoyed the course. and I think we did well. Like I said, just finished editing 1 and 2, and so I'm going to drop both of them. I'll drop 1 and 2 tonight, and this one probably won't cost me too much editing. If there's some good fog tomorrow out in the morning, I'll be able to edit this cleanly, and we'll have it all ready for you. So uh, I don't have anything else. Uh, I uh, I do want to talk about what we want to do next because I'm really not sure. Do you want to go back to the Fifth Amendment and to kind of finish the first five?
Was that? I lost you for a second there.
I say, do you want to go back to the Fifth Amendment and just kind of just to finish the first five?
Yeah, I guess we could do that.
Okay, so let's do that next week. We'll do the Fifth Amendment for you guys, and then I have received a package. I don't have it here. Actually, I do, but I don't want to show it right now. I received a package in the mail
No one
to.
wants to see your
You don't want to see my package. It'll scare you.
package.
It referred to buying Apple gift cards and doing surveillances on Walmart. You go to the Walmart, you try to buy these cards. They were $500 each, and so that was my first clue that this was a load of shit because nobody buys $500 Apple cards. And they wanted me to buy two at two different stores and then enter these 5 questions and send them the cards and blah, blah, blah. And so I started looking into it. So after we do the Fifth Amendment, we're going to focus on that. I'm going to find these bastards. I'm going to string them up and hand them over to the police. I've already done some research on it, so it's very, very deep. I don't know that the people that I have in my research so far are actually involved, but there's some pretty strong ties to a couple of guys. Tomorrow is Thursday, so I'm going to go to the post office and get some more information about where this package came from and who sent it, and we'll keep digging there. I will give you all this information after we do the Fifth Amendment case because I think I'm going to have a lot more information before we get there. And I'm going to ask you to help us out. All the information I give you, you can build on, and I'm going to continue. Like I said, I want to find these guys. I want to string them up, and I'd rather not hand them over to the police, but then somebody would hand me over to the police, and that wouldn't be good. So we'll find them.
Don Hegner, PI.
Give all this information to local PDs and let them chase them down. So hopefully we'll get that all accomplished and moved on soon. Anything from you, my friend Donovan? How's your job coming?
I'm good. It's I'm waiting on my birth certificate. Still waiting on my birth certificate. Yeah, still hasn't gotten here yet. So I've been gone for like 4 or 5 days. Yeah, I know. Well, went to California. I don't know how long that takes. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
all right then. Well, I got nothing else. Donovan, there we are. All right. Hey, thanks again for
everyone
sitting with us and enjoying our time together. Truly, we hope this has been elucidating for you and not just boring. I'm trying really hard not to be boring because I had enough of those teachers in school and so did you. So here we go. Hey, thank you again. Have a great evening.
Peace, love, and soul, people.
See ya.
Well, I'm Donovan, and John's here with us today. Thank you for joining us for the free exchange of ideas, and we'll see you next time on the next show.
See ya.